G'day guys and welcome back to the Turbo Tonner build series. We are here at Kurt's house.
Today we're getting down to business. The good part of this job, we're going to fit the turbo kit and I'm going to fabricate a new dump pipe for it. So yeah.
Yeah, this is where it becomes a party. So if you're new to the channel and you're just coming across this episode, go back and watch the start of the series. We've put a new cam, we've replaced the heads and new timing set, oil pump, a whole bunch of awesome supporting mods. So we'll put a link somewhere over here so that you can check out the first and second episode. But this is where the party starts. This is where things get interesting. So stick around. We'll go and run through the turbo kit. It's an ASE T800 kit with a Garrett GT4088 turbo. But we've done a couple of mods to it. So let's go and check out the kit.
Okay, so here's the first look at the turbo kit in question. Like Jeff said, this is ASE T800 single turbo kit. So Rob bought this one off Gumtree. It's a bit of a budget build, so we just seen it there. He picked it up, got a decent price, and it didn't quite look as good as what it does here. He's sent the piping off for ceramic coating and powder coat. So we've got all the hot and cold side on the intercoolers all been powder coated in satin black. The manifolds over here, as you can see, they've got a high temp ceramic black coating on them. Pinjarra Powdercoaters, they done all the work for us there. They done a cracker job, so we recommend those guys if you're local and you're looking at that sort of work. They do a good job for a good price. Also, the turbo here, this is a GT4088. It's also had a little bit of work since Rob's bought the kit. He had Grant at Per4manz Turbo in Perth. He's high-flowed the compressor housing out. He's put a 70mm inducer billet wheel in it, so it should flow a little bit more air compared to the old cast inducer wheel that this turbo originally came with. It's a very basic turbo kit, in all honesty. We're utilising the standard cast manifold over here. It's got a pretty small thing. It's just a 2-inch crossover pipe on it. Here's a screamer pipe right here as well. So we've just got the one fabricated turbo manifold for the turbo side. It's got a nice thick 16mm turbo flange on it, so that'll seal up really nice. Their kit comes with a very, very basic generic China. This one's a 3-inch core intercooler. So it'll do for how much horsepower we're shooting for with this particular setup. Should do just fine, but if not, these Chinese intercoolers interchange out really easily. So we've already got a couple of 4-inch cores hanging around that we can slot straight back in, and we shouldn't have to change any piping at all if we feel that we need to do that for whatever reason. So the other bit in question, I've just taken a look, is this here. We've got the 38mm Turbo Smart wastegate. This is an older generation. As you can see, it's massive and it's only a 38mm valve, but we're going to give it a go first anyway. Obviously the manifold's already set up for it. I personally probably wouldn't have went any smaller than a 45mm wastegate. Ideally a 50 is probably just your go-to on any sort of basic turbo V8 build these days, but we've got it here. We'll give it a go. If we get boost creep, well, I'll just lop the flange off and we'll get Rob to buy a new Turbo Smart. We'll probably just get a 50 put in there, I would assume. 50mm gate, maybe a 45, see what we think at the time. But for now, we're just gonna, as they say, we're gonna send it. And yeah, so that's a quick, brief overview of the turbo kit. It's gonna look pretty good in there. I'm glad Rob did get all the coatings and stuff put on, because it looked like a dog's breakfast before, so I'm told. So at least it will be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing to the eye when it's all mounted in there. But enough chit chat. I think we should get into fitting this bad boy. So let's check it out.
Alright guys, so as you saw there, we've just managed to get the exhaust manifolds out. So, tip for all of you guys, make sure you just drop that steering rack. You have to for the driver's side anyway, because the intermediate shaft goes through the extractor on that side. The passenger side's nice and easy, but if you do have these chassis braces that go across here, just make sure that you take them out. It'll make your job a hell of a lot easier. So now what we're going to do is we're going to slip the turbo manifolds in. So they're over here. Kurt showed you them before. Kurt's actually just had to pop out for a little while. His missus prepaid a block of line dancing lessons and he couldn't get out of it, no refunds. So he'll be back after he's done that, and we'll keep on getting stuck into it. So try not to show you many of the boring things that we're doing, trying to sort of keep it fairly active. And this is the bad boy right here. This is what we want to get done today. We want to get that turbo in. So let's keep going, hey? Well, it wouldn't be this car unless it fought us in some way. So in putting the driver's side manifold on, we've had the bolt, and of course it's the one right down the back next to the brake booster, has actually stripped the thread out of the head, which is apparently somewhat common for an LS head, being that they're alloy. So the next port of call is we've got to pull that driver's side back off again and see if we can get a helicoil in there. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, so a bit of an update on the header bolt sitcho. We didn't end up drilling, tapping, helicoiling at this point. We just went and got some fresh bolts. As you can see here, this is an original header bolt, and there's probably 5 millimeters of no thread at all, followed by another 4 or 5 millimeters of tapered thread, which all equates to not much thread biting in the back of the hole. So I think what's happened is we've only maybe purchased 3 or 4 millimeters of actual thread with these bolts, and with the 22 Newton meters it has pulled the thread out. So we've put the new bolts in, same length, but with thread basically all the way up to the end, just to engage that last 5 to 7 millimeters of thread in the back of the hole that hasn't been previously yanked out by Rob through no fault of his own. I've got you back there, Rob. So yeah, we've just done the old elbow click test. It's not super tight, but at this point I think we're just going to try and send that, and hopefully it doesn't give us any issues in the future. If we have any issues beyond this, basically we'll either have to yank the head off or just pull the motor out and drill it out with a helicoil, get a helicoil kit and install that basically. This is just one of the things you get with aluminium cylinder heads, fairly common, especially old clapped out ones like these. There's been sitting around for a long time, so it's probably had 75 different sets of headers on it over its years and whatnot. So it is what it is. But basically, yeah, that's the first bolt we've done. I'm going to put all fresh bolts just in this side, and we'll send them in. The other one that's stripped is up the back there. It's in the furthermost back hole, I believe. So in the worst spot. That's
a terrible spot.
That's Murphy's Law. That's he wrote it, and that's how it is. So yeah, we'll put fresh bolts in, and hopefully it takes up, nips up good, and we'll keep moving forward from there. So
we just got our fingers crossed at this point that what else can go wrong? Surely we can get that bolt in there, we can get some tension, and then we can get back to doing something actually productive, like putting the crossover on and getting this bad boy to spin.
Making some turbo magic.
Yeah, no, it's all pretty basic stuff, guys. Just we've got to be ginger because we're really reluctant in pulling the motor out and helicoiling it, doing it properly. We're just going to try and get by with this approach, and yeah, it should be good. But if it doesn't work, well, that's what we'll have to do. We'll more than likely yank the motor out and do the helicoil and whatnot. But yeah, let's shorten some more bolts.
Alright guys, so let's have a look and see where we're at now. So after all of that mucking around, we went through, we've got these high tensile bolts that you can see there, cut them to the right thread. We've chased all the threads out, made sure they're nice and clean, and we've got a positive tension on all of those bolts. So that bad boy, she ain't going nowhere. But that burnt a lot of time. Kurt, did that not burn a hell of a lot of time, bro?
Wasted unnecessary time. I would say that, yes.
Wasted unnecessary time. But as you can see, we've basically got the hot side together. We will have to pull the turbo back off again to do the oil feed and drain. And then after we've done the oil feed and drain, we'll then be working on cold side, so intercooler piping and back up into the throttle body. But for now, guys, that's about where we're going to call it for today. Like we say, the threads on that head did waste a hell of a lot of time, so that's going to be it for now. We will see you first thing tomorrow. G'day guys, alright, we are back again for another day. So where did we leave off yesterday? We had finished doing all of the manifolds and turbo. The wastegate, you can probably just see down there, the wastegate's also been bolted on with the screamer pipe. And now we're starting to look at our intercooler piping. So it's tight, it's very tight in there, and we've now got the intake pipe from the throttle body. I've had to take the headlight out, and we're seeing basically where this is gonna sit. Okay, so we're gonna have to scallop out a bit of there, and like anything with your engine bay, it's measure 3 times, cut once. So yeah, let's see how we go. What do you reckon there, Kate Fizzy?
That's one cut. Rob's sweating, I can see him already.
Fucking. I don't like grinding sparks.
We got nervous Nelly over here.
I might just...
Probably the part I shouldn't be here for.
This is the part that Kurt prefers people aren't here for. Just standing behind Kurt and just being a creeper, but you can see that he's just chopped a bit of clearance there so that we can try and get some intercooler pipe. We actually managed to find a couple of pictures on the ASE Turbo website, which helped us out a bit, gave us a bit of an idea of where they needed to clearance it. We don't have a battery in this side, which makes it a little bit easier for us, but it looks like this kit would have definitely cleared a battery anyway. But we're just trying to figure out exactly how much more we need to clearance to get the pipe running so that we can figure out our intercooler pipe.
Right here, I'm just going to offer up the intercooler, see where I need to notch this Rio. It definitely looks like it needs to be notched, so I'll just literally just going to slam it up. I've marked the center already so I can see where it is. And yeah, I can see already that that is not going to work. This needs to go up probably another 80 millimeters, probably a touch more, so I'll just mark where I want to notch it from. So what we'll do is take the Rio off, I'll mark some lines, cut it with the grinder, and hopefully be able to suck the panel in and just infill a couple of small bits with sheet metal. I think that's my approach for now anyway. So let's get this off, get it over on the bench and start cutting.
So next job will be oil feed and oil drain. So oil feed, if we get under the car, it's nice and easy, but just next to, I think you can just see there's on the filter housing just next to it, you probably just saw the studs, but this part here unbolts, and that's what we've got here. It literally has a bit of a noodle on it for where the HSV's picked up their oil pressure gauge sense pickup. In this particular instance, it's blocked off in there, but we can drill it and tap it, and then we'll put our fitting in there for our oil feed, and that'll give us great pressure to the turbo because it's right there at the filter. So Rob will get stuck into that. That'll be his next job. Righto, so big progress. You saw Rob, he just did the oil feed, which is in, and Kurt fabbed up a bit of a modification on the oil drain. So the oil feed and drain are in, and we've also made some big progress on the intercooler piping. It was kind of hard to film it because it's kind of tight there in the shed, but you can see that now the intercooler is mounted and the intercooler piping is in. Bit of messing around, eh?
Little bit. Not too bad though, really.
So it slips up there just behind the headlight real nice. We also gave the intercooler a nice little coat of flat black, give it that stealthy look. But yeah, overall, starting to look pretty good, isn't it, K-Fizzy?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. It's coming together pretty good, as expected, really. Yeah, a little bit of extra cutting than what I expected, but still, you know, within reason anyway. So it's just one of the things with kits that you haven't fabricated. When you fabricate your own stuff, you know where you want the holes. You cut the holes and put the piping through. But with this one, it was all pre-made, so we sort of had to fit and fiddle with it. Just, you know, you don't want to cut too much out, but at the same time, you don't want to be fitting it on and off 27 million times. But we ended up doing that anyway. So, but end result is good. Fits nice. Yeah, I'm happy with the fit. It's good.
So what's up next, man? We just got to...
what have we got? So now we're just going to fit the old dump pipe. I was going to build a new dump pipe out of 3.5 inch tube, stainless. That's what we did plan on doing initially. Since having a better look at the kit with the 38mm gate, the less than ideal wastegate takeoff with the huge length behind it there, it's just not an optimal wastegate location and design. So I figured we'll, instead of potentially having more issues with this kit with the more free flowing on the turbine, I figured we'll just use the 3-inch dump pipe that we have for it already, and I'll just join it up to the existing 2.5, and it should still make the power he needs. I reckon it'll do it easily, and we shouldn't have any boost creep issues. Yeah, that should be pretty good.
Yep, so from here, now that the intercooler piping, or the intercooler's mounted, the intercooler piping is sorted, yeah, we just got to mount the dump pipe, fabricate a mid pipe, and then there's a bit of vacuum lines and stuff that we need to route for wastegate, blow-off valve, etc, etc, before we get to final assembly. But good progress.
We've also got a cut for that intake as well. I just remembered, for the off the front of the turbo, it's got a tight elbow, and the pod filter goes under the guard, so we'll cut that out as well and mount the filter under the guard.
Yeah, so still a couple of cheeky jobs to go, but we'll get on to the next part shortly. Keep watching.
Okay, so we've installed the 3-inch dump pipe. Now it's time to do the mid pipe section, join it up to the factory, or the original 2.5-inch system that we've got here. So it's just a generic muffler shop job we're going to do, some aluminized mild steel pipe. Not very interesting, so with the magic of video editing, we will get right to it. And there you have it. So it's all in, all done. Bit of high temp black. Basically kept it 3-inch all the way up to here. This is the original part of the exhaust system. So I've just put a reducing section here, so it's 2.5 to 3 right here. And here's the crossover to the other side. Looks a little bit weird with the pipe coming out this way and then turning back 90 degrees this way. The reason I've done that is to retain the factory configuration, basically. So if Rob wants to rip the rip the turbo kit off later, he can do that quite easily. Bolt up factory cats, factory manifolds, etc., and he doesn't have to custom make another midsection to go back to what he had. So that's the reason we've done that. Turned out pretty good. So yeah, let's get into starting this bad boy up, I reckon. Okay, so exhaust system is done. Now we're going to prime the turbo oil feed line right here. Basically just to make sure we've got oil coming out, oil pressure, and also just clear any junk that might be in the line. I've basically ripped the fuel pump relay out, and we've also undone the coil pack harnesses off the engine so it can't fire up. So I'll get Jeff to hit the key and we'll give her a little whiz. Let me just get that key. When you're ready, man.
Got no power.
Okay, take 2. Yep, give it to it. up. You little ripper. Righto, it's the next day. Didn't want to fire it up. It was about 1 o'clock when we lowered it down on the lift, so thought we'd leave it to the next day. Fuel pump relays in, coil pack harnesses are plugged back in. Yeah, so let's give this thing a start up. Wish us luck.
Woohoo! You ready there, horse?
Yeah, mate.
It's time to ride.
Rightio guys, there you have it. Rob's VY 1 tonner is now officially the turbo tonner.
That's it. So the turbo tonner's finally got its namesake, and it's turned out pretty well, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree, yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit of fiddly stuff in the beginning, obviously buying a kit second hand, and we had no instructions on mostly the intercooler piping side of things, wouldn't you say? That was the main sort of thing that we had to get our head around.
No, yeah, yes and no. It was sort of, this is Rob's car, this is Rob's baby. He didn't want us, he wanted to cut it up as little as possible, so we just had to just sneak our way in with the cutting, you know. So we know, you know, you just want to sneak in, cut as little as you can, and yeah. So that was just little jobs like that of fiddly, you know, trimming the bumper, that come off maybe 8 times, just, you know, just sneaking it away. But the end result is you get a nice fit. It's not hacked, you know. It's we don't hack things. I don't like hacking things, so you know that's just the little extra bits like that make all the difference. So.
Definitely, yeah. So it's turned out really, really nice. For now, though, it's got to get ready for its final test. So next step from here, it'll be going to Shannon at Tune Corp to be tuned. So that'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah, no, it should do good. It will make the numbers that Rob wants to. You know, we're expecting 500 to anything over 500 is what the goal is. So
That's
it should
right.
do that pretty easy. Yeah, this kit's made way more than that a long time ago. You know, these kits have been around for over 10 years now. So yeah, the proof's in the pudding. It'll do it. You know, it's all. I mean, there's a million turbo LS combos around, so everyone's got a pretty good idea of what it will make.
Yeah, so I think with our valve train combo and this turbo, we'll probably see somewhere between 500 and 550. And I think it's going to drive really nice, especially being a 6-speed manual. Totally street-driven car, so you won't have to beat the crap out of it to get the power. So it'll come on early, it'll be all over early, but I think it'll be exactly what he's looking for.
Yeah, no, it'll be nice and fat, you know. Nice heaps of power down low, and it will just be steady, you know, which is perfect for a street car, you know. You can run your tall gears, it's just effortless power. That's the nice power. It's nice to drive, it feels good, you know, you don't have to wring its neck to get it to move. And plus, on the street, in a 1 tonner with street tyres, it's going to hose the tyres anyway, regardless. So you'll have to have your wits about you, for sure.
She'll be a handful, I reckon.
Which is perfect. That's what we're all about.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
If it's not trying to kill you, I don't want to know about it.
Well, give me some knuckles, bro. That's the first build series just about done and dusted. Stay around. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so that you know when the next video is up. Because on the next episode... Well, g'day guys, and welcome to my wife's office. So as you can see, just finishing up editing this episode as we speak, but unfortunately since filming this, things have changed. The COVID-19 pandemic has obviously changed a lot of things around the place, and especially if you're in WA, you'd know that there are regional lockdowns in place, which means, unfortunately for us, we're on the wrong side of the border to our tuner. So it's unclear at the moment when we will be able to get the turbo tuner tuned, but we're hoping that we can do it as soon as humanly possible, maybe early May. But until then, really sorry guys, unfortunately this is something that's totally out of our control, and we'll try to keep up a couple of weekly uploads up until the dyno video, but if there is a little bit of a hiatus, now you know why. So thank you all very much for watching, and I hope you really enjoyed the series so far. Stick around because the dyno video is coming as soon as the regional lockdowns are over. So thanks again, catch you around.